So, what does CJ Stroud do for an encore? Do we think Bijan Robinson will have a better year in his sophomore year? And how many wins do we think the Tennessee Titans will get this year? Well, we're going to find the answers to those and many others as we are heading south this week. That's right. We are previewing the AFC and NFC South divisions in the second of our 4-week series. And we're doing it right here on Fantasy Football Fever, which starts any second now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Fantasy Football Fever. Thanks for making this part of your week, however, whenever, and wherever you're watching. It is Thursday night, June 13th, 2024. Great to have you with us. Of course, I'm Tim McClellan. And once again, roaming the streets of the Empire State, our good friend John Flynn, who should be arriving at his residency in just a few minutes. How you doing, John?
I'm doing very good. I'm walking home from the Mets game where I was just at. The Mets won on a ninth inning comeback, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. But for me now the shift focuses for me tonight to football and two intriguing divisions in the NFL. Two more intriguing divisions than we thought they would be.
All right. Then, of course, we have our league commissioner, the one and only John Natale. How you doing, bro?
Good, doing good. Good to be back here again.
Yeah, good to be back. And it is also good to have one of our buddies back here, a member of our fantasy league, my fellow Cowboys fan from the Alamo City of San Antonio, Texas, Mr. Adam Oliver.
No, it is good for me to find time to be here in Fantasy Football Fever.
It's great to have you back, buddy. Good to see you.
We got Giants fans on the right row and then right side, and Cowboys fans on the left side of the screen.
Yes. I mean, bidding for the geography, the Cowboys are the westernmost East team, and the Giants the easternmost East team.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Good point.
Yeah. I just didn't think about it until Natalie just mentioned it. Well, anyway, we have got a lot to talk about. Of course, we will be talking about the divisions for the AFC South and the NFC South. Of course, I've got a little tough trivia for you. That's going to be
I got one too this week.
All right, the two of you at it again. All right.
But right now, it is time to take a look at some hot topics that have been going on here in the last week. And, of course, probably the biggest topic of them all is that the Jacksonville Jaguars and their star quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, has agreed on a contract extension, 5 years, $275 million, including $200 million with $142 million at signing. So they got him locked up for another 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
So what is the impact on that? Flynn, let's start with your comments.
Yeah, I was very surprised that the Jaguars acted this quickly because if you looked at some of these statistics of how he started his career, so they are eerily similar to the statistics that were accumulated in the first few years of the career of Daniel Jones. Now, it needs to be taken with a bit of context because Trevor Lawrence's first year was a complete and utter disaster. I mean, Urban Meyer was a complete another disaster. That he took a trip back home to Ohio after a Thursday Night Football loss. In week 4 of the 2021 season, all the dysfunction and just completely losing the locker room. But in the last 2 years, Trevor Lawrence finished as one of the top 12 quarterbacks in fantasy. He ranked number 7 at the end of in 2022, thanks to an incredible second half that saw him lead his team to win the AFC South and win a playoff game and make things tough on the Kansas City Chiefs, who eventually won the Super Bowl. And for the first 3 months of last year, the Jaguars were one of the best teams in the NFL before, so that they eventually collapsed the last 6 weeks of the season. So I think Trevor Lawrence now has some of the pieces needed to succeed. Now the offensive line is better. They added Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU in the draft. So he's gonna, but even which is basically Jacksonville's Calvin Ridley replacement. Calvin Ridley we'll talk about in a little bit with the Tennessee Titans, where he signed a big deal there to everyone's surprise. But I think I agree with this, but I'm a little surprised about the timing because he hasn't had that 1 year where he was a top 5 quarterback yet. But the fact of the matter is, if you want your quarterback, and Trevor Lawrence at the time was the most touted quarterback prospect the draft had seen since Andrew Luck, you're gonna have to pay him because there are 2 types of teams in the NFL: those that have a quarterback and those that don't. And Jacksonville risks to probably having to pay him a lot more if they wait until next season to extend them, and if it's a year where Trevor Lawrence puts up massive numbers. So you kind of have to give Jacksonville a little bit of credit for that. I did not think it's going to happen this quickly.
Mm-hmm. Natalie, got any comments?
Yeah, pretty much similar to what Flynn said. I figured it was going to come sooner or later. He is a very good quarterback. He just has to stay healthy. As long as if he can stay healthy this season, I think he is going to earn his dues.
Adam?
I think I agree, and I know if Trevor Lawrence would stay healthy, I think I would probably see the Jaguars take the division for their respectful place in the division.
Well, according to the ESPN article here, he is now the 6th quarterback to have an annual salary above $50 million. He joins Jared Goff from the Lions with $53 million. Justin Herbert from the Chargers at $52.5. Lamar Jackson from the Ravens at $52. And Jalen Hurts from the Eagles at $51. By the way, the next highest paid, lower than $50 million, that's currently Patrick Mahomes for the Chiefs at $46.339 million. So,
and what's crazy is that within the next 12 months, you may have 2 more quarterbacks get the bag with Tua Tagovailoa and Dak Prescott, depending on what the Dolphins and the Cowboys respectively want to do for that. But on the flip side, this is another example of why the Cowboys have no idea what the hell they're doing. We talked last week about the Justin Jefferson contract, which probably makes CeeDee Lamb's contract more expensive, and now today with the contract of Trevor Lawrence getting $55 million. Now you wonder about the demands of Dak Prescott. So another rough day for the fans of the Dallas Cowboys. But knowing Stephen Jones and Jerry Jones, this is Cowboys fans know all too well.
Oh yeah. I know Adam, myself, and all us Cowboys fans. Yeah, we've been pretty much getting used to that. The Jerry logic, I guess they want to call it. But I digress. Oh, by the way, there's another signing here. The Dolphins have signed 6-time Pro Bowler Calais Campbell. Signed him Thursday. And it looks like I don't know if I don't see the numbers on this contract here. So, Calais Campbell signing with the Dolphins, bolstering up that defense a little bit. Flynn, your thoughts?
I mean, I like the signing. I think the Dolphins they lost a couple of pieces in free agency. Now you have someone to pair up with Chop Robinson in getting after the quarterback. I think I kind of dig this, but from a Dolphins perspective, and that now their defensive line is looking pretty strong when you combine those with Christian Wilkins.
Mm-hmm. It says here he had 56 tackles, 17 quarterback hits, 10 tackles for loss, and 1 fumble recovery pass this last season with the Falcons. He's been around. He's been around a little bit, so I'd say Campbell will be a nice addition to that defense. Natalie?
Yeah, I think it's a good start, but they're still going to need some help if they want to keep pace with the Jets and the Bills, especially the Jets, who have improved massively. And yeah, we all know the Patriots are the clear last place team right now. So, I mean, if the Dolphins continue to make moves, then we could easily see an argument to put them either 1, 2, or 3. It can go either way.
Uh-huh. Also, earlier today, the Atlanta Falcons, they were docked a 5th round pick in the 2025 draft, and they were fined $250,000 for violating the NFL's anti-tampering policy when they were trying to sign a free agent running back Saquon Barkley, who used to be with the New York Giants.
Yeah. I can't believe the Eagles got away scot-free. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, John. When we were doing show prep earlier today, John Natale had some pretty strong takes about that. So tell me your thought process.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that they got away scot-free. Because I remember the dates. Free agency was supposed to be official on March 15th.
Uh-huh.
They signed Barkley on March 13th. They cheated. They can't do that.
It's no. So what happens? But what happened is that the NFL has a legal tampering period between March 11th and March 13th. So it was. So I think your timeline was a little off. So I think it was at March 11th at noon, because agents and team officials could start negotiating contracts.
I understand that, but like I'm saying, is you're not allowed to sign until March 15th.
Yeah,
that's when the official signing occurred March 13th. So Eagles jumped the gun.
So everyone else can have their contract official on March 13th. So why aren't they investigated?
Good question.
Yeah, so it seems like the Falcons got a big penalty, and the Eagles just got a slap on the wrist.
Mm-hmm.
And the Falcons, I think it was. I don't think Kirk Cousins was the only free agent that they were tampering with. They also tampered with Darnell Mooney, who's going to be their number 2 wide receiver this upcoming season. So it wasn't just Kirk Cousins. It was more than that.
So I think the Falcons could have. I'd say the Falcons have a legitimate beef. I mean, if they were just going to let the Eagles get away with it. So yeah.
But I also think the thing is that the Falcons' punishment was only a 5th round pick. I think the big takeaway from this is now teams won't fear the consequences for illegal tampering.
Right.
But Alex Putnam, our diehard fan of the Miami Dolphins in our league, Because remember they tried to go with Tom Brady, tried to sign him away from Tampa after the 2021 season, and they lost the first round pick because of it. And when the news broke of the Falcons and the Eagles and their tampering, I thought for sure that they were going to get punishments as harsh as that, but that clearly is not the case.
Clearly not the case at all. I want to say hi to Daniel Berry. Joining us once again. Hi, Daniel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting us. Tell all your friends about us. Spread the word. Give them to subscribe and hit the bell, all that good stuff they say on YouTube. I just came across this piece of news. I don't know if it's anything. I guess it's either a big thing, a small thing, or nothing at all. Saints running back Alvin Kamara skipped final practice of mandatory minicamp. His agent told NFL Network that his absence is contract related. Right now, Kamara has 2 years left on his current contract, 5 years, $77 million deal, $77 million that he signed back in September of 2020. And he missed 5 practices at the end of August 2020 before signing that deal. So Kamara missing a practice due to contract issues. Flynn, is this something or nothing?
I think this is a much ado about nothing, Timmy. If we're being honest here, because if you look at how the Saints offense evolved and what the Saints offense is with and without Kamara, I think some of the numbers and the field, more importantly, speaks for itself.
Natalie, something or nothing?
Yeah, it's kind of somewhere in between. I mean, you see a lot of players doing it, so it's not really something out of the ordinary.
Right.
But I think things will get worked out. So there's still plenty of off season left.
It's that's the least of the minicamp concerns, because remember the big thing last year with minicamp was Stephon Diggs not showing up for Bills minicamp and the lack of communication throughout the Bills organization, and them being on the same page on this. I think that was really alarming there. But I do believe, Timmy, that there was more. That we had a similar situation in the AFC East this week in minicamp.
I think I might have forgotten about that. I don't know if you mentioned it earlier today, but just refresh our viewers about it.
Yeah, so Aaron Rodgers was the star quarterback for the Jets was not at mandatory minicamp this week, and Robert Saleh said it was earlier in the week it said it was an excused absence, and then he talks to the press on Tuesday, and he says it was an unexcused absence, where he was simply trying to throw Aaron under the bus, and it was something that Aaron Rodgers had planned well ahead of time, and with all that. But and Hassan Reddick was the other player that did not show up for Jets minicamp as well. But this is kind of alarming for the Jets, because Robert Saleh has no idea what he's doing in terms of communication, no idea what he's doing in game during the season, and also no idea how to manage someone who has a super big ego to the degree of Aaron Rodgers. So I'm kind of alarmed by this. Now, if you look at the rosters on paper, I think I've said that on paper the Jets are better than the Buffalo Bills, and the Jets are better than the Miami Dolphins. So, but I think the leadership and with the Jets that all stems back to ownership, unable to keep to tame their star players and have them focused on football, and and that's something you see from dysfunctional organizations. And I don't think I do think the Jets are going to make the playoffs on the basis of them having such a good defense, the improvements on the offensive line. But if you're a quarterback whom you've searched so long for, can't commit and can't be available, I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a little case of a communication breakdown, in my opinion. And we just lost. Oh,
Yeah,
he's coming back. Yeah,
There
he's
he
coming
is.
back here. I thought, like I was just saying, it might be like maybe a case of miscommunication breakdown. But
Yeah, most definitely.
yeah. Is there anything else I may have overlooked, Flynn?
Darren Waller announced his retirement this week.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Really? Yeah,
Yes,
Darren
he
Waller. He was a tight end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darren Waller. Let me look up his numbers here.
I mean, he only had one touchdown catch as a Giant last year, and that was from Tyrod Taylor.
One touchdown catch from Tyrod Taylor and not from Danny Dimes. So take a look at his career here from this great website, ProReference.com. It's just an awesome site here. Started his career with the Ravens, 2 years with the Ravens, 2 years with the Raiders. And then they transitioned to Las Vegas, played with them for another 3 years. Then played with the Giants last year. So let's see here. Darren Waller, he career 350 reception, 4,100, 24 touchdowns, 20 touchdowns, or 4,124 yards and 20 touchdowns. So he announced his retirement. So all the best to Mr. Waller in his future.
And it's a shame how his career came to a crashing end over the last year. That him not being interested in football anymore. That the accusations of him cheating on Las Vegas Aces star Kelsey Plum, who they just married last a couple of weeks ago, last year. So it's really a complete mess on everything. Yeah, there. But so the Giants do recover $11.6 million in cap space. As up until Sunday, the Giants had the least amount of salary cap room in the NFL when you factor in the post June 1st salary cap cuts. So the Giants will have basically room to sign a couple of more players, and I think they definitely need a couple of those players. Maybe someone for the second to help with the secondary, and somebody to help another couple of veterans in the secondary. So I think that's where I think you kind of need to go here for a Giant perspective. So. We have that.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, the Giants right now have a total of 6 players on their roster in that particular tight end position. They got Daniel Bellinger at tight end 1. And their recent and their recent draft pick, Theo Johnson, from the 4th round of this past year's draft.
I'm very excited to watch Theo Johnson this year. I think now that Waller is retired, I think he's gonna be a name, a sneaky name to watch in fantasy if he's going to be the Giants' go to pass catching tight end. So I'm looking forward to that. But when you look at the Giants, if their roster is young and not great right now, but they can be interesting coming up later on. So we have that, and I think the last hot topic I had written down is that the Pittsburgh Steelers agreed to a 3-year contract extension. So that takes them to 2027. So I kind of want to take Timmy. I want to get your take, Natalie, on Mike Tomlin getting a 3-year extension.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not surprised by it. He's been a great manager. He's never had a losing season. I mean, he's come close a few times, but he always finds a way to get out of the bad situations. And yeah, he's done a good job. He's earned it.
Yeah, but now let's play devil's advocate here. When was the last time the Steelers won a playoff game?
Wait a minute.
Do you guys know?
Oh, is that supposed to be a tough trivia?
No, it's not a tough trivia.
Tough trivia. Last time they won.
Yeah, it was the 2016 AFC divisional round against Kansas City.
Oh, it wasn't that far off. It was 7 years. I said 6. I mean, pretty close.
7 years, yeah.
Yeah, I say, but the Steelers haven't won a playoff game in 7 years, and they've been to the playoffs 4 times. I believe 4 times since then, and they haven't. They've been 0-4 in playoff games. So,
wow.
I think that's kind of the devil's advocate where you have to play here. Is so that is this going to be 3 more years of the Steelers being stuck in the middle? I mean, where's the direction of progress here? Now, yes. Now you are correct that Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers in his 17 seasons there. But is this going to be more of the same though?
Right.
I think that's going to be that's going to be the big question here.
So my interesting thing is I'm going to be looking at the professional relationship between Tomlin and Wilson, because Wilson and Peyton did not get along in Denver. So
I mean, also he's got the quarterback situation with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. And it's not gonna be a matter of if or with that and with reports of Kenny Pickett, his former quarterback, reportedly being impressive in training in minicamp for the Philadelphia Eagles. That might put some more pressure on Mike Tomlin of the Steelers to show it was not a mistake to let Kenny Pickett go in a trade.
Yeah, but I am so glad that the Steelers got rid of Mitchell Trubisky. Definitely. Never trusted that guy. I don't think I ever will.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's pretty much all of the hot topics that we got for this week. And so I think it's time to get to the meat and potatoes of this show here. Glenn, you still... Oh, you got it now. All right.
Yep.
Here we go. Taking a look first at the AFC South. Starting with the division champion, the Houston Texans. They finished 13-4 last year. They lost in the AFC divisional round to the Baltimore Ravens by a score of 34-10. And led by there's CJ Stroud, of course, the AFC Offensive Rookie of the Year. New pickup Joe Mixon at running back. Damian Pierce at running back 2. Then you got Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell at
I mean,
wide receiver position, with
yeah,
Stephon Diggs coming over from Buffalo.
yeah, and this is far and away the best wide receiver room in the National Football League, because you have 3 receivers that can rank in the top 30 in fantasy at the end of the season, and I would and it might be a matter of how they're going to do it, but. So, but I think Stephon Diggs is going to change everything. Now, it's going to allow Tank Dell to get more free and more open, because you can't have, not many teams have 3 corners that can cover receivers at a high level. So it's going to be a tall challenge for opposing defenses. And when you look at CJ Stroud going into last season, his projected rank was number 26. Now he's jumped 19 spots since then, all the way up to number 7.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing there. Actually, I should let you know that Tank Dell, I've got him as my fantasy breakout for this particular division.
Yep, me
Last
too.
year, oh really? Last year,
Yep.
2023, he caught he caught 47 passes out of 75 targets for 709 yards. He averaged about a little over 15 yards per reception, and scored 7 touchdowns. So I could maybe see the yardage numbers maybe increasing a little bit. But and Tank Dell, I think he had an injury late in the season last year.
Yeah, he did.
So I can see a bigger, but even with that injury, those were respectable numbers, and I could probably see those numbers going up a little bit.
It's and I also think Joe Mixon going over from Cincinnati to Houston. I think that really completes the offense. Really, because of what Joe Mixon was able to do with Cincinnati. Now, I do think this is going to be a case where this is going to be a pass heavy offense. Obviously, because when you look at the Texans receivers. But I think the thing I am concerned about is their offensive line and the lack of depth with the offensive line. So I think that could be that could be a problem.
Well, let's see. They have number 16th ranked defensive special teams. They're pretty much on the low end as far as their offensive line, and they have a pretty average tight end in Dalton Schultz, the former Cowboy. So that's pretty much a look at the Texans right there. Going to Indianapolis, got Anthony Richardson coming back, Jonathan Taylor, who right now is projected at number 4 among the fantasy running backs, with Trey Sermon. Well, that is a huge differential right there from number 4 to number 76. Huge differential.
But I mean, Jonathan Taylor is gonna be behind center for. I mean, he's like one of those 3 down backs, because when you look at Christian McCaffrey, when you look at Breece Hall among others, yeah, Jonathan Taylor, yes, yeah, he earned that contract extension and the money, and he's going to be getting the majority of the snaps at running back this upcoming season.
Yeah. With a receiving crew of Michael Pittman, the rookie Adonai Mitchell, and Josh Downs. I wanted to put I thought of another fantasy breakthrough this year for Adonai Mitchell. He could be a young star to maybe kind of keep your eye on this year.
It's definitely because I had AD Mitchell going in the first round of the draft. I did not think he was going to fall all the way down to 52, where the Colts I got a steal. I thought toward the end the end of that first end of the second round. So
Yeah, looking at his numbers last year and his last season with the University of Texas, Oklahoma Horns. Last year, he had 55 receptions, 845 yards, 15 and a half yards per reception with 11 touchdowns in that year with Texas. His numbers at the scouting combine, pretty impressive. He ran a 4.34.40, 39.5-inch vertical jump, and an 11-foot 4-inch broad jump. So I'd say he's got some speed, he's got some height. So I guess if he needs to make some really tough passes, I think he's probably got the ability to get those. So I'm keeping my eye on him this year. And we got the Colts, Jelani Woods at 28 among the tight ends. With an average defense and special teams, but that offensive line, top 5, that could be a good line right there. Best line in this division so far.
I mean, when you have Quentin Nelson in an offensive line, I think that really that helps.
Oh yeah. Moving over to the Jacksonville Jaguars, where we have the aforementioned Trevor Lawrence, who just signed his contract extension, ranked number 18 among the fantasy quarterbacks, with Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby at the running backs, with Christian Kirk, rookie Brian Thomas Jr., and free agent pickup Gabe Davis coming over from the Buffalo Bills, which was kind of a little bit of a shocker. I mean, they lost Stephon Diggs, but they also lose Gabe Davis. Still have the very good tight end Evan Ingram, ranked number 4 among the tight ends in fantasy. Defense, special teams, and the offensive line kind of on the lower end of the spectrum right there.
Yeah.
So Brian Thomas Jr. could be another young rookie to kind of keep the eyes on for the near future. And over in Tennessee, we have Ryan Tannehill, who's pretty much.
So I have the wrong quarterback and running backs on this list. So those were positions I did not update on the chart, but we have Will Levis, who's going to be the Titans Week 1 starter. He's ranked number 24. You have Ty J. Spears, who's going to be RB1 for Tennessee, ranked 31, and you also have Tony Pollard going over to Tennessee from the Dallas Cowboys. He's ranked at number 36. And I do think that Will Levis is a good candidate to break out. I love Will Levis in the draft process. He throws a really good deep ball, and now he has a competent receiving core around him. They brought in Calvin Ridley in free agency. They brought in Tyler Boyd to be a veteran. So Will Levis has 3 receivers that he'll be able to throw to, and then Okonkwo at the tight end as well. But if the Titans are going to win games, they're going to have to win in the form of shootouts. Because they lost a couple of pieces with their defense, and they lost Shane Bourne, their defensive coordinator, over to the New York Football Giants.
And that is pretty much the fantasy potential starters. Now let's take a look at each team's schedules right now. And once again, I have the Vegas over under win totals for each of these teams. First, starting with the Houston Texans, pretty good schedule. But of course, the one game that I know Adam and I are looking at, Week 11, the I-45 showdown.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The Texans will be heading to Dallas to play against the Cowboys on Monday Night Football, which I think is going to be so sweet. So they got Colts and the Bears, Vikings, Jags, Bills, Patriots, Packers, Colts, Jets, Lions, Cowboys, Titans, Jaguars again. And then they have the bye.
Yeah. So yeah, I think the second half of their schedule, starting week 9 onward, weeks 9 through 17 are not going to be easy. And look at what the task the Texans defense has weeks 15, 16, and 17: Miami, Kansas City, and Baltimore.
Offensive powerhouses right there.
Think of Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Lamar Jackson. So that they're going to have their hands full come fantasy playoffs. So it sounds like the Texans defense, it might not be the commodity you need this year. With that, when you're looking at their schedule, they also have a tough 3-week stretch. Weeks 9 through 11, because they have 3 primetime games in a row: a Thursday night game against the Jets on Halloween night, October the 31st, then a Sunday night game at home against the Lions, and then of course the aforementioned Monday night clash up the highway against the Cowboys. So not going to be an easy schedule by any stretch of the imagination here for the Houston Texans, but that's what you get for winning your division. You have to face the other division winners. So they already have the Buffalo on their schedule because of the divisions, and then the 2 same place finishers that came up with that allowed them to finish up the schedule is Kansas City and Baltimore, and they won't face either one of them until week 16. So it's going to be not an easy schedule for the Houston Texans.
Not going to be easy. Last year they had it pretty good at 13-4. This year Las Vegas has the win over under at 9.5.
Oh, that's over.
Yeah,
I'm taking the over on that one.
I think I will too. I think they probably get a beat, maybe. I'd say maybe 11 or 12.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they can do 13 again, but I'll say maybe 11 or 12. I am taking the over.
Yeah.
Looking at Indianapolis, first 8 games, they got Houston, they got at Green Bay, then home against the Bears, home against the Steelers, at Jacksonville, at Tennessee, home against the Dolphins, then on the road to Houston and Minnesota again.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very doable schedule.
Very doable. Then week 10 at Buffalo, then at New York against the Jets, at home against the Lions, at the Patriots, and then just like the Texans, their bye week is week 14. They finish up at Denver, home against Tennessee, and on the road against the New York Giants. Colts finished last year, record of 9-8. This year, Las Vegas says their win total is 8.5.
That's a tricky.
I do think the Colts are going to be a good team this year. So I think they're going to be a winning team this year. So and also if you look at the fantasy playoff schedule, Denver, Tennessee, and the Giants, those are going to be 3 of the worst defenses in football this year. So if you have, maybe this is the year you consider drafting Anthony Richardson and drafting Jonathan Taylor and and Michael Pittman Jr. and if you know my discourse regarding Michael Pittman Jr. over the last couple of years, you know how much I'm obsessed with him. He should have been with the Packers. Would have led the Packers to a Super Bowl with Rodgers, and Rodgers probably doesn't leave Green Bay. But I digress.
Right.
Anyway, but
Yeah, I got them. I got probably 9 or 10, at least 9 or 10 games. I'll take the over on that one.
Yeah, I think I will too, but barely.
Oh, barely. Okay, then we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. They start at their in-state rivals, Miami. That is going to be a big clash right there. That's a noontime game. That's going to be pretty good. Then home against Cleveland. Then they go to Buffalo, go to Houston, back home against Indianapolis, on the road to Chicago, then back home against Patriots, Packers, going to Philly, then come back against Minnesota, then on the road to Detroit, then at home. Then their bye is week 12. Then the last stretch is home against the Texans, on the road to Tennessee, home against the Jets, on the road to Vegas, home against Tennessee, and then at Indianapolis right there.
See, I think what sticks out to me is the first 4 weeks of the season, because they're all against teams that made the playoffs last year. In the AFC, because Jacksonville did not make the playoffs last year, but for more than half of the AFC playoff field that they have right away, so that they did no favors with a team that has a quarterback just fresh off a $275 million contract extension.
All right, so last year Jaguars finished 9-8, finished tied for second place in the AFC South, but they got the tiebreaker. This year, Vegas has them 8.5.
I'll take the over on that one too.
I'm taking the over too.
Okay, yeah. I'd say maybe anywhere between 9 and 11 wins. Sounds like a pretty good season.
Yeah, I could see Jacksonville or Houston winning the division because remember because the gloating about that from the media elite about CJ Stroud does not happen if Trevor Lawrence gets hurt in week 13 last year. That Jacksonville would have been on the road to win the division, getting the top 2 or 3 seed in the playoffs, and perhaps the entire conversation around the playoffs is different had Jacksonville get a top 2 or 3 seed in the playoffs and not blow that game to Cincinnati.
Yeah. Anyway, looking at Tennessee's schedule now, they start at Chicago, then home against the Jets and the Packers. They go to Miami, and then they have their bye early in week 5.
Yeah, so you have the earliest bye period and the latest bye period all in the same division.
Oh,
All right. Then after the bye, they're home against the Colts, and they go to Buffalo, go to Detroit, home against the Patriots. Then they go to Los Angeles against the Chargers, back home against the Vikings. Then they go to Houston, they go to Washington, home against the Jaguars, home against the Bengals, on the road to the Colts, on the road to the Jaguars, and home against Houston.
Yeah. Looking at the playoff schedule, I think it's kind of average, but again, I just think you're gonna have to win some shootouts if you want to be competitive this year. So and Tennessee's roster is I still think a work in progress, but what's the over under for Tennessee this year?
They finished 6-11 last year. This year, the over/under from Las Vegas books is 6.5.
I'm gonna go slightly under.
Slightly under on that one.
Hmm. That's a tricky
I'm
one. Yeah, that's
I'm
around
going
the
to
win
go.
mark I was thinking.
Yeah. So, but also mind you, you have a rookie head coach in Brian Callahan. You have
Right.
um, you have a very young and inexperienced defense.
Well,
Yeah, there is not much. I mean, the only I think the only saving grace for Tennessee defensively is their corners. Where remember they did get Algerius Sneed in a trade and then signed him to a big extension. You might also rely on Harold Landry. Not much depth behind him. Maybe Arden Key is someone, but the defensive interior has very little depth behind Jeffrey Simmons. The linebackers are not core, and then Monty Hooker is your best safety. I think that's that's going to be some problems there.
Yep. And upon further review, I'm going to take the under also. Looking at this schedule, I could possibly potentially see an 0-7 start here. The only team I'm not sure about right now is the Packers from that group.
And I mean, maybe they beat Indy week 6 because it'll be a team coming because Titans coming off their bye and they've done pretty well against Indy the last couple of seasons. So
Right.
so I could, but definitely 0-4. I remember they are on the road for Caleb Williams' NFL debut. So
Yeah, so I'm going to go slightly under on that one as well. If they can win 6, they'll be all right. But maybe 5 or 6, that's what I see.
Yeah. We're unanimous on everything.
Yeah, but if there's one reason of hope for Tennessee is that Bill Callahan is their offensive line coach, considered one of the best in the business. I wanted him so bad in the worst possible way.
Right.
But that's really where we're at here in terms of that.
All right. So that's basically the AFC South. Now, let's take a look at the NFC South here, which probably they will not. This division will probably not quite flashy.
Yeah, my
Probably
backup
not
player is
have
right
that,
on the top of the screen there.
but could be. I mean, got some pretty good names up there, starting in Atlanta. With Kirk Cousins, who just signed with the Falcons this past November, right? I think it was November. No, it was
in March.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was in March because, for some strange reason, a month after they signed Kirk Cousins, they decided to draft Michael Penix Jr.
Which was like the ultimate OMG WTF moment, which a pick that made no sense whatsoever, and
I am still scratching my head to this day.
Yeah, we're going to be scratching our heads at this forever as long as we live about that on that.
Oh yeah.
And we've got Bijan Robinson coming back for his second year.
My breakout pick.
I think I actually got him as my breakout as well. Absolutely, I do. I just didn't like the way they tried to treat him, but he did put up pretty good numbers last year. 214 carries. He was a workhorse at that position right there. 214 carries for 976 yards, 4 touchdowns. But the only setbacks for him was he fumbled the ball 4 times and he lost 3 of them. Those are his only setbacks.
But also I think the thing that got everyone so riled up about Bijan Robinson going into last year is that Arthur Smith, when you look at a star running back like he showed with Derrick Henry in Tennessee, that he was able to figure out how to effectively run the ball. See, it wasn't that Bijan Robinson was bad. It was just because that the teams knew that they could key in on stopping the run because the quarterback play was so bad. That now that you hopefully have competent quarterback play, I think that's where it's all going to change and frees up Bijan Robinson and of course Atlanta's offensive line is fantastic. It's the best offensive line in the division. When you look at Jake Matthews, Chris Lindstrom, who is one of the best guards in the league as your two stars on that. The running back room, of course, is impressive. Kyle Pitts is still there as well. I'm hoping that he breaks out this year. So. I think you can have some good numbers this year from in fantasy. I think the best numbers are going to come from Atlanta Falcons.
And of course, I still have Tyler Algier at running back 2, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Rondell Moore at the wideouts, with the very, very capable Kyle Pitts their tight end. And as you said, the offensive line is number 3 in fantasy. It's going to be pretty darn good. The defense, special teams, kind of on the other end of the spectrum there. But yeah, I got Bijan Robinson. Get a little bit more. I'll make a bold statement. Bold statement. Write this down.
All right.
Somebody, either you guys or anyone out there watching this, write this down. My bold statement here for this show. Bijan Robinson will break 1,000 yards this year.
1,000 yards. Written.
Put it on the board. There you go.
You were talking about the defense, but I think the problem is how they're going to go after the quarterback. And I mean, clearly the pick was Dallas Turner or Jared Verse. With the 8th overall pick, not Michael Penix Jr. I think the defense is my biggest but for this Falcons team, and also the handling of the quarterback situation as well.
Yep. We'll see how things go in Hotlanta this year. Going to Carolina now with Bryce Young, who, of course, had a very, very, very rough rookie year last year. He's projected at 27 right now among the quarterbacks there, with Jonathan Brooks and Chuba Hubbard at the running back positions. Deontay Johnson, I think if I'm not mistaken, he came over from Pittsburgh.
Yes, in a trade with Pittsburgh earlier this offseason. Yes.
And they still have Adam Thielen. Hopefully, ooga, shaka, ooga. Yeah, that's if you people are actually hooked on a Thielen. You know what I mean? You got Xavier Leggett, wide number 3, Tommy Tremble as their tight end. And they pretty much average defense, special teams, and a slightly above average offensive line there. But there's only one direction. Only one direction Bryce Young can go is up.
Yep.
But if it's going to be possible, that is,
Right. But
so now,
I think where I'm concerned with is the losses they suffered on defense. That they lost Frank Louvu and Jeremy Chin to Washington. They traded Brian Burns, their star edge rusher, to the Giants in exchange for 2nd and 5th round picks, which was a very one-sided trade that favored the Giants. Thank you very much, Carolina. Yetur Gross Matos in free agent. They lost him. they lost Von Bell, they lost T.J. Henderson, so they lost a lot of starters to free agency and trade.
All right, so that's how it's looking like in Carolina. Down in the Big Easy, New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr with 26 among the fantasy quarterbacks. Kamara, we mentioned earlier his contract situation, not really much of a big thing there, with Kendrick Miller as his backup. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, and Bub Means at the wideouts. Taysom Hill, the slash. I think he's like a bigger slash than Cordell Stewart was.
Yeah. Hey, what's noted on our list that's not noted on the chart here is that Jamal Williams. Remember, he led the NFL in touchdowns a couple of years ago with the Lions. So yeah, he's now the Saints' third string running back. He's ranked number 56, and the Saints have two tight ends ranked in the top 20. Taysom Hill is number 18, and Juwan Johnson is ranked number 19.
Ooh.
Oh, interesting there. And the Saints have a top 10 defense special teams right at number 10. Their offensive line down near the bottom. So
I think they lost a couple of pieces. I mean, what wasn't that? I think they had a couple of retirements, and guys who just couldn't stay healthy. On that, so they drafted Talis Fuaga out from Oregon State with the 14th overall pick to be their left tackle. But they also drafted Kool-Aid McKinstry as their as the corner. He's the number 3 corner behind Paulson Adebo and Marshawn Lattimore. But you have that, and also the Saints. Remember, they drafted Spencer Rattler with their 5th round pick.
Oh yeah, so
but the backup right now is Nathan Peterman.
Right. I remember that here. And over in Tampa Bay, got Baker Mayfield at top 20, number 19.
That's my dud. My dud for this side.
Fantasy dud. Just don't see him really doing much of anything. And I don't think I have anybody as far as my breakouts are concerned. I just had Bijan Robinson for pretty much this whole division. And we have Rashad Wright and Chase Edmonds for the running backs. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Trey Palmer at the wideouts. Cade Otton at their tight end at number 22. Lower end of the spectrum for their defense and special teams and their offensive line.
Yeah, and the thing is, the All-Pro center Ryan Jensen retired during the offseason, so the Bucs used their first round pick to draft their replacement Graham Barton out of Duke.
Right.
Elsewhere they lost Shaq Barrett because of a cap casualty. Carlton Davis is no longer on that defense. He got traded to the Lions. But in terms of who they did add, so they added Jordan Whitehead to their secondary. So they might have the best safety tandem in the league with Antoine Winfield and Jordan Whitehead. So they also added Bryce Hall as a backup corner. They added Randy Gregory to their edge unit, which desperately needed help in the worst way possible. So that's that for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's pretty much the fantasy rosters there, and Now we'll just go into their season schedules right here, starting with Atlanta, starting at home. Well, look at that. First 5 games of their schedule is at home. They got home against the Steelers, and they go to Philadelphia. Then they're back home with the Chiefs, the Saints, and the Buccaneers visiting. Then week 6, they're on the road against Carolina, back home against the Seahawks, on the road to Tampa Bay. Then week 9, they're at home against the Cowboys. They go to New Orleans, they go to Denver. Then their bye week is on week 12. And after the bye, they're at home against the Chargers. They go to Minnesota, go to Las Vegas, home against the Giants, and they go to Washington. They end the season at home against the Panthers.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy schedule. I must say. I mean, if you take out the first 3 or 4 weeks, I think that's a pretty favorable schedule.
Well, last year the Falcons finished with a record of 7-10. Las Vegas's over/under on the Atlanta Falcons for a win total this year. The over/under is set at 9.5.
Yeah, I think despite the foul up in the draft with the quarterback, I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, I would think so.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to take the over. I think I'm going to take the over too. Yeah. I'll say the same.
Say maybe anywhere between 10 and 12 games. Anywhere between 10 and 12 games is all right. And remember my big statement, Bijan Robinson will break 1,000 yards rushing for this year. We go to Carolina. They have a kind of a zigzag schedule the first 6 weeks. On the road in New Orleans, at home against the Chargers, on the road against the Raiders, at home against the Bengals, on the road against the Bears, at home against the Falcons. Then they have 2 road games at the Commanders, at the Broncos, and 2 at home, week 9 and 10 against the Saints, against the Giants. Then week 11 is their bye. After the bye, they're at home against the Chiefs, home against the Bucks, on the road at the Eagles, then at home against the Cowboys, home against the Cardinals, then at Tampa Bay, then they finish at Atlanta. Last year, the Panthers finished 2-15. Las Vegas has them at a very low total. Their odds are 5.5 wins.
5.5. Let's take a look here.
I don't think the roster is as bad as they make it out to be. So I'm going to go a little over.
Yeah, I think I'll take the over too. That's a really tough one.
I saw they could probably beat the Commanders at week 7. They could beat the Saints. I don't know. Could be yeah. I'm going slightly over. I mean, 6 or 7 wins. That's looking at that from a distance. Right now, 6 or 7 wins probably sounds about legitimate. I'm going slightly over with the Panthers. Now we go to the Saints. The Saints start their season at home against the Panthers. Then they're on the road against the Cowboys, back home against the Eagles, and they go to Atlanta and Kansas City. Back home against the Buccaneers and the Broncos. On the road against the Chargers and Panthers. Back home against the Falcons and Browns. Week 12 is their bye. Then after the bye, home against the Rams, on the road against the Giants, home against the Commanders, road game in Green Bay against the Packers. That's going to be December, of course, where the Packers are usually pretty tough. Then Week 17, they're at home against the Raiders, and they finish on the road against the Buccaneers. Last year, the Saints finished 9-8. They tied for first place in the NFC South. However, the Buccaneers did get the tiebreaker on that. Las Vegas has New Orleans went over under total wins at 7.5.
Over.
Yeah, I think people forget they had a plus 75 point differential last year. But I think the thing that scares me, it is the coaching, because Dennis Allen can't coach his way out of a paper bag, if he tried. So I'm leaning towards the under here, if we're being honest.
All right, yeah, Jim, you're the tiebreaker.
I'm going slightly over.
Yeah.
Slightly, but not so much so. 8 or 9 wins, that's probably what I see.
Yeah.
Probably about 8 or 9 wins for the Saints here. And finally, take a look at the Buccaneers schedule. They start at home against the Commanders. They're on the road against Detroit. Then they're at home against the Broncos and the Eagles. On the road to Atlanta, then New Orleans, then back home against the very tough Ravens, and they are hosting the Falcons. Week 9, they're at Kansas City against the Chiefs. That's a Monday nighter. At home against the 49ers, that's not going to be an easy one. Then week 11 is their bye. After the bye, they have 2 home games. Week 12 against the Giants, week 13 against the Panthers. Then they're on the road in Las Vegas. Come back home for 2 games against the Chargers and the Cowboys. Then week 17, they're at home against the Panthers and finish the season against the Saints. Last year, the Buccaneers finished first place in the NFC South, breaking the tiebreaker with Atlanta. Or New Orleans, I should say, finished 9-8. Las Vegas win total for Buccaneers this year 7.5.
I think the defense. I think there are major concerns with the defense and the offensive line as well. So I'm gonna go under.
I am also taking the under.
And sadly, I'm going to be unanimous with that. I'm going slightly under on this one. 5 or 6 games for the Buccaneers. That's pretty much the best I see there. So,
yeah, I think they have a rather tough stretch the first in October and November, because if you look at all the teams that they're facing in October and November, like Baltimore, Kansas City, San Francisco, the Eagles. So all of those teams are the conversation to go to the Super Bowl this year.
Right. So that's pretty much the schedule for the NFC South teams right there.
Yep.
Kind of going to have a bit of substance, but not as sizzly as they don't really have much sizzle, but.
All right.
So that's pretty much it. So now it's time for everyone to put on their thinking caps, because it is time now for Tim's Tough Trivia. I have a question, and I think before the show we mentioned that Natalie had a question.
Yep.
So we'll just start with mine first. And my question does have to do, again, my question has to do with one of the 8 teams that we've discussed this evening.
Okay.
Specifically the Texans.
All right.
And specifically the I-45 showdown. So here it is, the question. The first time that the Texans and the Cowboys met was at the old Texas Stadium. It was on September 8th, Sunday Night Football, 2022. The Texans beat the Cowboys for their only victory of that season by a score of 19-10.
Okay.
The question is, Who were the starting quarterbacks?
I know who it was for the Texans. I don't know who about the Cowboys.
Are you talking about for 2022? You're saying?
2002. So
Oh,
he's
2000.
2002.
I think I know the Texans one. I
Yeah.
want to say the Texans one was David Carr.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's who I was going with. Well, that's because he eventually was the backup quarterback for Eli Manning for a couple of years.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the history of the Cowboys quarterbacks.
I mean, because I know in 2002, I think it was bad because I think at the year after they brought in Bill Parcells and Drew Bledsoe. So it can't be Bledsoe because he played with the Bills in 2002. So
yeah, I feel like I know it. I just can't pull it out. Yeah. I don't think it was Tony Romo. I think he was later.
Yeah, he was much later. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead and say this right. You are correct with the Texans starter. It was David Carr.
Yeah.
But now we need the Cowboys starter in that game.
Yeah, I can't pull it out. You got me on this one.
I'm gonna throw a wild guess. I might be wrong and say Jason Garrett.
Oh, interesting guess. Maybe I like that one.
Just for that answer,
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Well, Jason Garrett was the Cowboys quarterback.
Yeah.
but I don't think he stayed that long.
Mm.
I don't think he stayed that long. I'll have to look it up, but I'll just go ahead and tell you the starters were David Carr, and the Cowboy starter was Quincy Carter.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think it would have gotten that one.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with him.
He didn't stay with the Cowboys that long.
So who was the coach that year? Because I think he got fired because that was the year before they brought in Parcells.
The coach was previously the defensive coordinator, Dave Campo.
Wasn't he a defensive coordinator for the Bears for a few years and then or something like that?
I don't know. He might have been. I could look up his statistics right here.
Yeah,
Let's see, Dallas. Okay, he was Dallas from 95 to 2002. Then he was defensive coordinator in Cleveland. So he was only with Dallas and Cleveland.
Yeah. So in other words, he took over for Barry Switzer.
No, he took over for Chan Gailey.
Oh, Chan Gailey. I think he was with the Dolphins for a little while.
Yeah. Chan Gailey came after Switzer.
Yeah. Anyway, now on to the tallies questions.
All right, Natalie. Oh,
yeah. Mine's gonna be a bit similar to what we did last week. Remember last week I had you guys try to name the team that had the most round one rookies from the offensive side.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're gonna do the same thing for the defensive side. So, which team has had the most as far as round one picks go? Who has the most defensive rookie of the years for a specific team? Several teams have 4, but one team has 5. Which team do you guys think that is?
Well, you think?
So we're basically doing the same question we did last week. Only we're flipping chains. We're going to the defense now.
We're going to the other side of the field.
Yes. Several teams have had 4, but one has 5.
What do you think of all the great defenses?
And remind me again, what was the answer to the offensive rookies last week?
The offensive side was the Vikings. The Vikings had, let me count this up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, the Vikings had 6 on the offensive side.
Okay, so
this particular team has 5 on the defensive side.
All right. I mean, there's
Well, you think of the great defensives that played. You had
The
you
Steelers.
got the Steel Curtain. You got the Doomsday defense. You got the Packers defense. The Purple People Eaters. The No Names. Uh, wow.
I'm trying to figure out how many Giants have won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Because I know LT won in '81. But
Remember, we're not going in general. We're going by just round one only.
It's round one only. Okay.
Remember, bear that in mind. We're not going as a whole. Round one only is the focus.
All right.
Yes, in the first round. First round.
My guess is going to be the Steelers.
Okay, Flynn is going with the Steelers. All right. Where are you going with, Tim?
I think I'm going to have to agree. I got to go with the Steelers.
All right, you're both going to go with the Steelers. So, well, I'll give you guys a second chance here. You guys have the right. You guys have the correct conference, just the wrong team. The Steelers have 3.
So
the
it's
Steelers.
the AFC.
The Steelers were Joe Green, Jack Lambert, and Kendrell Bell. The years respectively were 1969, 1974, and 2001. So I'll give you guys a redemption guess. You guys did get the conference correct, just the wrong team.
It's in the AFC, so
it's an AFC team.
We just take it away. So we got a choice of 15 to pick from now.
All right. So here's a redemption round.
If that makes you feel any better.
All right. But this time, you guys pick different names. Since Flynn went first the first time, we'll have Tim go first this time.
Actually, I think I'm going to go with the Raiders.
The Raiders. Let's see. Unfortunately, Tim, that was an even worse guess. They only had 1.
Oh, goodness.
That was by 1998 Charles Woodson. All right, Flynn, you gotta try to beat 3.
No, I was also.
If you can get one of the 4s, I'll call that a win. There are several teams that had 4.
My guess also was the Raiders.
Well, we'll pick something else. I said pick 2 different teams. So give me something else.
So basically, my response to that answer.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Oh boy.
That's me tonight. Okay, let's go with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Let's see. How many did the Kansas City Chiefs have? Well, you did. Well, fun. You got 4. You got the second. You got tied for the second highest. Chiefs have 4.
Okay.
So good effort there.
Can you give us the names of the team that has the most? Give us some names.
All right. Well, if I say the name, it's going to be obvious. You guys are going to get it. Well, maybe
give us the least obvious.
Okay. Let me see. All right. I'll just give you guys the earliest name. All right. The final chance. The very first name on this list. Eric McMillan.
No.
Does anybody know it now?
No.
Eric McMillan.
All right, fine. We'll go to the next name on the list for this team. Hugh Douglas.
Hugh Douglas.
Next.
If one of you guys is going to know it, it's probably going to be Tim, because this was before Flynn was born. We'll put it that way. All right. Nothing. Okay, this is going to seal it. I'm positive. Both of you were obviously around during this time. Well, maybe. Oh no, hold on. Oh, never mind. Yeah. Flynn was around, but I think he was a baby, but around this area. But he's going to know it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Jonathan Vilma.
Patriots.
No.
The Jets.
Jets. The Jets have had 5.
The New York Football Jets. Wow.
The Jets have had 5. Yeah, Eric McMillan, Hugh Douglas, Jonathan Vilma,
And then Darrelle Revis and Sauce Gardner.
Not Darrell Revis, but Sheldon Richardson
Sheldon Richardson.
and Sauce Gardner.
So is Sheldon Richardson out of the league right now?
Let's do a quick wiki look here. No, former. So he retired. Let's see. When was his last year? His last year was 2021.
It was 2021, Sheldon Richardson's final year, and that was with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah. And then for some giggle, and then for our team purposes, the New York Giants have had one. You mentioned him earlier, Lawrence Taylor. And for Tim's Dallas Cowboys, it's only one. You know who that is, Tim.
Number 11 from heaven, Michael Parsons.
2021.
Yeah, several teams have had 4. Let's see. I'm going to go through my 4s here. No, the Bears were 3. Let's see. Now, Broncos was 2. I know I saw several 4s here. Let's see. Well, I mean, I guess you can kind of count this as 4. The Texans, back when they were the Oilers. Oilers 1, Texans 3. I'll call that 4. Same city. Let's see.
Not quite the same franchise, though.
Yeah, I think it was just a name change, if I'm not mistaken.
Because remember, the Houston Oilers would eventually become the Tennessee Oilers.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. And then they became the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I forgot about Tennessee Oilers. Let's see. Yeah, the Chiefs had 4. Let's see. Rams only had 1. I know I saw several 4s here somewhere. Steelers were 3. Chargers were 3. Okay, the Niners also had 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought we'd just throw that one out there. Yeah, we had a couple 4s in there. So as far as the best guess on the night, it was Flynn with the Chiefs. So very close.
Wow, those are real stumpers right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, on that very happy note, I think we'll just go ahead and wrap up this edition of Fantasy Football Fever, but not before Flynn gives us a preview of his latest episode of Hooked on Sports.
I'll be recording one upcoming. Of course, I'll be talking about the underwhelming championship series in the NBA and the NHL. I mean, both series are now 3-0. The Florida Panthers won again tonight against Edmonton, and now the Celtics are 3-0 on the Mavs, and no team has ever come back down 0-3 to win the NBA Finals. So we have that, of course, the baseball, and all that other stuff.
Yep. So he's got to talk about, and of course, we are about a month away from the Summer Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Over in Gay Paris.
Mm-hmm.
So keep an eye on that. I don't know.
If anybody's a soccer fan, the Euros start tomorrow.
Yeah, the UEFA Euros.
The Euros start tomorrow.
Yeah,
so,
I wrote down. I made my prediction, even though I don't follow it that much.
Yeah, but
I have France over Spain in the final.
France over Spain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it helps when they have someone named Kylian Mbappe on that team.
Right, actually. Well, we'll just go ahead and put the wraps on this edition of Fantasy Football Fever. Just remember to look for Hooked on Sports anywhere you find your podcast, Hooked on Sports with John Flynn. And, of course, Natalia will be back. Flynn will be back. I'll be back. I guess we can reconvene next week. Same day, same time.
For the East, right?
Yes, we're going East.
Oh, our teams. We get to talk about our own teams.
Yes, we're going to talk about who could be the beasts of the East for this coming year. We'll be looking at their schedules, looking at their rosters for the fantasy rankings and all that. We'll do the same thing like that. We'll do that next week. So, great show, guys. Y'all guys have a great week.
Oh, yeah. Same to you.
Yep.
And all of you have a good week as well. Join us 1 week from tonight. We'll be back next Thursday night to preview the AFC East and the NFC East, and we'll have some more tough trivia. Hopefully, maybe a little bit tougher than this week. I don't know. But we'll just find out next week. Thanks for joining us. So, for John Natali or John Flynn, My name's Tim McClellan. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a great week. God bless you. And as always, be a good sport. See ya.